it's now, if we are going to make it available to the people, which is exactly what these gurus of old wanted to do, then it's decentralized. It just is. We're at that point in history where you don't have to be like, oh, I trace my lineage back to whoever, because we can't now. You can't study with Pattabhi, he's dead. You can't study with Iyengar, he's dead. You can't study with Desikachar, he's dead. You can't study with Krishnamacharya, he's dead. Yogi Bhajan's dead. Paramahansa Yogananda's dead. Like, they're all dead. So get over it. And start realizing that what they did is what we can do. They created something that either didn't exist before, right, or existed on a different plane, and they brought it together in their way, and they presented it to the world in their individual way, and we can do that too. Desikachar is, again, Krishnamacharya's son. Someone already talked about Desikachar, correct? Yes. Who was it? Who talked about? Was it you that talked about Desikachar? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
And then his son is now taken over. I don't even want to put his son's name on here. He's so gross. So just like seriously, we don't want to even mention him as someone who's teaching yoga, because he's not even really teaching yoga. He's just kind of throwing their names around.
This is Desikachar?
Yeah, Desikachar's son. Yeah, wow. Desikachar died, and his son has solely Desikachar's and Krishnamacharya's names so much that a lot of people think that's why Desikachar just kind of lost his mind. He was just like, I can't even deal with what's happening, because he was such a good guy, Desikachar. Indra Devi, have we heard that yet? No? Who has that?
I feel like Kira.
Oh, that's right, Kira. Yeah. So if we get her this weekend, we'll have her do Indra Devi. But basically, Indra Devi was the first Westerner and one of the first Westerners, and definitely the first woman to study yoga and to be able to go and teach it elsewhere. She popularized it in Russia, in South America, eventually does a little bit in America, but mostly South America, Mexico, ends up settling in Mexico for a long time, and South America. And then Srivatsa Ramaswamy, he also studied with Tirumalai Krishnamacharya, and he comes up with the Vinyasa Krama, which is very similar to, because Desikachar and Ramaswamy study with him at the same time. And so Desikachar's let's go back to Desikachar. His style of yoga is Bini Yoga. And I told you Pattabhi Joy's is Ashtanga Yoga. And then Indra Devi doesn't really have a style named after her. We just call it the feminine face of yoga. She never really names her style. A few main teachers that resemble her teaching are Scaravelli. So let's add Scaravelli over here to the right or to the left of her name.
Spell that.
Scaravelli. And she was an Italian teacher who really was talking about spinal fluctuations and keeping a wave-like movement in the spine. Another teacher while she wasn't trained by Indra Devi, she resembles Indra Devi's work, and that is Judith Lasater and Donna Farhi for sure. So Donna is Donna and then Farhi. And Judith Lasater also was trained by Iyengar, but she never went off. She just, again, these women they don't end up naming anything after themselves or yoga. And then Srivatya Ramaswamy for Vinyasa Krama, again, studies at the same time with Desikachar. And the reason why his term Vinyasa Krama instead of Vini Yoga rather, is he comes up with, I can't remember how many routines, but they're specific routines that are, again, remember what Vinyasa Krama means, the terminology for that. What does it translate into? Intelligent movement linked with breath. So he comes up with, let's say, 10 sequences that don't change. And you learn these kramas, and once you learn all the kramas, you're certified in this Vinyasa Krama. So a krama is a sequence. And Vinyasa Krama means intelligent sequencing linked with breath, or intelligent movement linked with breath. Okay, and then Lahiri Mahasaya, we talked about him because we talked all about Paramahansa Yogananda. We also discussed how Vishnu Ghosh is not really from this lineage, so we want to just put a line under that and separate Vishnu Ghosh and Bikram Choudhury. And Bikram Choudhury also didn't study with Vishnu for a long time at all. And again, he refers back to Vishnu Ghosh because there was some legitimacy. He could claim legitimacy as it having a lineage, but I really want to say that Bikram just started his own lineage. Vishnu Ghosh gave him a routine to do, and Bikram came to America and used that routine to start his own thing. Vishnu Ghosh doesn't teach that. It's not anywhere near what it is. But the reason why people now refer to it as the Ghosh lineage is because no one wants to use Bikram's name. right? But it's so, and I totally understand that. I totally understand why you'd want to be, this is the Ghosh lineage and not the Bikram. But really, Bikram didn't study with him long enough to even really be considered his teacher. He got the sequence from Ghosh. And that's pretty much as far as you can take it. But
I was doing my research on Paramahansa Yogananda, I was trying to link it back to understand it. And there was somebody who studied under Bikram and wanted to go back to the lineage, and so he went to India. He had a really hard time finding the Ghosh center. When he actually did, they do not claim Bikram as part of the lineage whatsoever. It's not, even the practice isn't.
no, exactly.
He took the 26 out of the 84 postures, but that's it.
That's it.
It's not even the way that they practice it. It's more of an ashtanga where you come in, teacher's there from a certain period of time.
Yeah, the Mysore style is what they do, and it's really tiny and it's very humble. And yeah, they've had to really come out and say we don't claim him. He's not. It would be like. It would be really similar to Micah and what he's doing and saying, my lineage is Ashtanga, when you've seen our sequence. And now you've cut our sequence down, which is what he's done too. From the however many postures, from the hour and a half to the 30-minute thing that he's doing or whatever. So they don't, in the same way, Patabi would never claim Micah as one of the students. Vishnu Ghosh and his lineage, they don't want anything to do with it. They just don't.
Bikram is a big fat liar.
Oh, he's such a liar.
He's a liar.
He's such a liar. Like you can fact check. He and Donald Trump should really be friends.
They're brothers.
They really should. They're just so much alike. They both do comb overs too, and have done for a long, long time. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just interesting, the similarities.
The narcissism.
Yeah.
The power trips.
Bhagwan Nityananda you're going to do, but just to bring it back to Guru Mai, if you just want to put next to Guru Mai John Friend again, and put John Friend Anusara, and then in parentheses Iyengar Roots as well, or something like that.
Oh, where? Say that
By Guru Mai. So on the next page, right, so we're done with the Bikram page, we're going to go to page 48. On Swami, she's going to introduce Nityananda to us on Saturday. This is Siddha Yoga. Although Nityananda did not term it Siddha Yoga, Swami Muktananda did. Siddha Yoga, again, it's not really a physical form of yoga. You got
confusing. Yeah, I have it. I just, you won't be able to see the PowerPoint unless you want to pass around my phone, but I do have it.
Well, why don't you tell us just a little bit about Nityananda and Muktananda, and then I'll tell you about Guru.
Okay. So Nityananda has been claimed in multiple ways of how he actually came to be on Earth. But there's two popular stories of where one, he was found in front of a temple as an infant by Yiniyama and Chakunar. I know I'm butchering these names because I don't know.
By who?
Chakunar.
I've never even heard of that.
And then there's another one of where he was found in a forest by crows that were cawing if an older lady was picking berries or something and took him to this family that couldn't have babies. So at a very young age, his mom died and was given to Ishwar Iyer, and he was a very spiritual man that taught, his name then was Ram, many scriptures and sacred texts. And when Ram was 10, they would go on pilgrimages, and when they were in the Himalayas, he decided that he needed to depart, to split from his Ishwar. And so he stayed in the Himalayas, just traveling and meditating in holy caves. And then when he was 16, he went back to his Ishwar Iyer, who was on his deathbed, and he was given the name Nityananda because he was able to give Ishwar kind of a vision of the sun god. And so then once his Ishwar passed away, he traveled to many places, Just trying to finish real quick. He performed many miracles, such as healing the sick, stopping trains, creating wells with running water. He was kind of like he did a lot for his village that he was living in. He was more focused on providing for them instead of himself. He was very like selfless and very service oriented. And then in the 1930s, he settled in the village of Ganeshpuri and always directed the people to meditate. And he helped make their village grow stronger by providing food and clothing and education. And he built roads. He would school the children. And then in 1956, he asked Swami Muktananda, who was one of his main disciples, to be his successor. And then he died on August 8th in 1961. And there was a shrine that was dedicated to him in the ashram of Ganeshpuri. And then Swami Muktananda.
So Nityananda was basically this miracle worker.
Yeah.
And he was he just cared and cared and cared about his community. So again, not much dirt on him that we've ever been able to find.
No. I tried looking up stuff, but it was just some own person's opinion about him that wasn't even backed up by anything else. So yeah, in the 70s he moved out to the west and brought the honor tradition of his master's lineage.
This is Muktananda.
Yeah, Muktananda. He developed what is SYDA Foundation? What does that stand for? Obviously it's Siddha Yoga. But I could not
SYDA?
SYDA.
I don't know. I've only seen SIDDHA.
Oh yeah.
Probably Siddha Yoga. Something.
Yeah, that's what I figured, but I just could not.
Yeah.
Anyway, I need the work of Siddha Yoga meditation. And then he just wrote a ton of books and developed about 600 meditation centers and ashrams around the globe. And then in 1982, he appointed his two successors, which was Guru Mai and her brother. And this is where you kind of find some dirt.
Yep.
So her brother held the position of guru until 1985 when he decided to leave Siddha Yoga, and that's just because he was found having sexual relations with a lot of his devotees.
Are we surprised? Not
Heard that before.
No. And so he was held in solitude for 18 days and then was caned, and then he left, or he was
His
banished.
punishment?
Yeah, he was exiled, but he just said that he left. And so
At least they did something.
Yeah.
In today's world, we're he's just a man. He's just a man.
I know, but the way to even get
forgive him.
initiated, you had to take vows of celibacy and poverty and obedience. So then once he was gone, she took his place, and she now just does intensive, and she teaches through books, recording, and live chant meditations and philanthropic work. Thank you.
She's you should. There's a lot to Google now, but you should Google her. She's a very high-spirited woman, and they all kind of say the same thing too. It's kind of funny where they're if you put Guru Mai side by side with some of these other people that we've watched videos of or that we've looked at, it's the same message, but it's it sounds like Walt Baptiste. It sounds like, who were we watching last week? Shivananda, I think. Yeah, we were watching Shivananda. Same. But she's kind of fiery and kind of cute. And John Friend, when he starts studying Siddha Yoga, because he's there's got to be something else out there besides Iyengar, he kind of falls in love with this method because it's so soft and it's so heartfelt and it's so meditative, and then he combines those two. So again, put John Friend by Guru Mai's name, because this is also, I would say, even more of his guru than Iyengar would be Guru Mai. And Siddha Yoga is the name of that style of yoga. However, there are no poses in this type of yoga, so I don't, again, know why they included it, except these were pioneers that did Siddha yoga, became a big thing in the United States, so, and all over the world, really. It's one of the biggest organizations in the world. We're going to cross off Theos Bernard as well, and we're going to cross off Gregorian Vivillaro. Again, we don't really need to know about them because they're just, Theos Bernard, both of these guys are more, and I haven't really been able to find why we'd even, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way at all, I just, they're not people who really affected change which is what we're looking at, so, or brought in this really popular way yoga to the masses. Vivekananda, does anyone have Vivekananda? No one has him, right? Let me think. He also, his style is Agama yoga, and he was another Westerner who studies under Gregorian Vivillaro, who studies under, I think he actually got his training, he should actually not have his own style, because I think he got his training from either Indra Devi or studied at some point with a whole bunch of these teachers. But anyway, he comes up with a style called Misa. Agama yoga from Vivekananda Saraswati. Agama yoga is fairly similar to Shivananda yoga. And he's another Westerner that goes over in the 60s to study yoga in India and then comes back and kind of brings this larger or this bigger market to yoga. Starts to popularize yoga. Kripalananda is Kripalu. We've already been over all of that. And this style of yoga is Kripalu yoga. And then Swami Rama was another one, if I'm remembering correctly, and my notes are still at the studio, but as far as I remember, you know what, let me just look it up real quick so I'm not giving you misinformation. He's the only one that I've never been able to study from him or take classes from him. All these other methods I've been able to. But as far as I know, he was the one that, remember you heard of the Swami that was the peaceful Swami in World War II, who made blessings over this one village, and the people who were dropping bombs somehow missed this entire village because he was praying peace over it. But let me make sure, because I might be making that up.
That sounds really awesome.
Yeah, one of these guys does. I just can't remember if it's him or not, and I don't want to he's another one that, of course, lots of sexual abuse in his past. Yeah. Since the early 70s, women have been claiming sexual abuse. He died in 1996, so only until 1996. So that's his scandal. And this is really an interesting article, actually, that I just pulled up. It says, sexual contract between gurus and their American disciples is not a new or rare phenomenon. Over the past 15 or 20 years, numerous spiritual teachers have admitted to or been charged with having sexually exploitative relationships with their female students, but the followers of such enlightened men are usually reluctant to find fault with them. This is going along with our discussion of philosophy and ethics, since to do so could invalidate the student's own years of study and devotion. That's exactly what we were talking about last week, right? We don't want to invalidate our guru because that invalidates us, right? And that's why lineage isn't such a big thing right now, because if you're aligned with them, then you take your identity from them, right? Let's see. Instead, they deny the experience of the unenlightened women. They say that these women are unenlightened. The victim's confusion and loss of trust are compounded when her community refuses to acknowledge her suffering. In the mythology of the ashram, the guru is the all-powerful, all-knowing father. The disciples are his spiritual children. Many disciples come from alcoholic and dysfunctional families where they learned how to deny emotional abuse directed against them or their siblings in order to believe that their parents or / gurus really love them and are acting in their best interests, which is what we talked about with the Patabi Joyce, with all these people saying, well, Patabi did that so that we could grow from this experience, right? And that's how John Friend was like, oh, you've been sexually abused before, let me heal you through more sexual abuse, right? But people are like, okay. They know, usually without being told, that if they break the taboo of silence, they would be blamed for destroying the spiritual family and the higher good that these families purportedly do in the world. And this is a big problem. Not only, and I'm not just saying this against yogis, because we know it happened in the Catholic Church, we know it happens in the Mormon Church, we know there's a lot that in any religious where there's a taboo of secret, you just know to be quiet. We take oaths.
Have you seen Spotlight, the movie?
No.
It was Michael Keaton.
Oh yes, I love that movie.
That is
Oh my God, it's so
good.
disturbing.
It's on Netflix.
So disturbing.
So disturbing.
What is it called?
Spotlight. Oh,
It's
must.
about the Boston. It was like back in the early 2000s, early 2000s, where they
Maybe even earlier.
It's like-
Might have been earlier than that, but
well,
yeah.
but it's like it started in the 60s, but they finally broke out the story in the early 2000s, where this newspaper company starts doing a ton of research and they find like 90 priests within the Boston area that had like sexually abused multiple kids, and it's it's so messed up, but it is really, really good.
Yeah.
It was like a really well produced movie.
Spotlight.
Yeah, it was really good.
So yeah, again, Swami Rama, imagine this, he was born at Brahmin in a small town of Toli in the Himalayas. And then of course he decided he needed to be a yogi, traveled to Tibet, studied with his master, practiced in caves, he was encouraged by his teacher to go to the West, where he spent, I wonder if any of these are true. And this is what happened, and it's the same story. But he spent a considerable portion of his life teaching in the United States and Europe.
So they usually become corrupt once they've come to the U.S.
To the U.S. Yeah, no, let's be
That
honest.
seems about right.
Yeah. He started the Himalayan International Institute of Yoga Science and Philosophy. And he served millions of poor people in the northern part of India. I don't think he is the one that. Yeah, and he was one of the only ones that actually had to pay, until Bikram now. He had to pay $1.9 million to a woman because the jury concluded that Rama had forced her to have sex with him up to 30 times while she lived at the Himalayan Institute. And they did, even if the sex took place and it was consensual, which they were trying to say, well, it was consensual, which is the whole thing that we've talked about. He actually had to pay. So
The student-teacher relationship is just compromised. You're totally compromised when you're
totally. And this is a big thing in the yoga world, because no one. Okay, so if you go to a psychologist and the psychologist takes advantage of that teacher-student relationship, psychologist-client relationship, that psychologist, there's a board. We can go to the board and we can say, this just happened, they took advantage of me, and then the board says, well, the problem with that in the yoga world is we have no body. We have no board, we have no higher, governing power, governing group of people over us that says, this is acceptable behavior, this is unacceptable, this is ethical, this is unethical. And part of that is because it's yoga, because everyone is supposed to be these self-mastered, self-study. I practice self-study, so, I practice Svadhyaya, so of course I'm not going to do anything wrong. And so we have this problem in the yoga community of letting people get away with way too much unethical behavior. And now it's a part of our history, right? It's just a part of our history. I gotta find out who the yogi is. Sorry, now that it's not him. Yogi who...
It just seems like it's part of our whole history as human beings of abuse, sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And with, like I was telling these guys, this, if you're interested in looking up what Pizzagate is, it's incredibly disturbing what's going on in the political world with our elites that are taking advantage of children, and the Illuminati are big time into it, and it's just devastating what's happened on this planet with it, because our sexual energy is our most potent and powerful energy. And it's the easiest to be harvested from one to another.
Yeah. And it's the kind of easiest to take advantage of too.
And it happens here in Salt Lake City too.
Oh my gosh, it's everywhere.
Which is why I helped create a yoga studio here in Salt Lake City with 11 partners, and that those same behaviors happened there, which is why I left. And I was shunned for saying, no, I cannot do this.
Yeah.
I was humiliated. I was kicked out. I lost everything because I said no to it. And they said, okay, well then go. So it's just...
Yep. And it's really hard when you know that that's going to be the reaction. It's very difficult. You have to really be strong and be like, I know I'm going to be shunned now, but I have to. So Devraha Baba was the one, and he is a Siddha yogi also. He's the one that blessed the town and all that. So he's
Is he on this? Is she?
No, he's not. So he's a Siddha yogi, and it's Dev, D-E-V, Raha Baba. He lived to be over 250 years old.
For real? 250 or 102?
I saw somebody else on the list that had a long life.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's what's his name? Kartikeya Maharishi.
Studied under.
What? That's really...
When did he die? Like what year?
Let's see. He's in Paramahansa Yogananda's book too. Does it say when he died?
It's so crazy. Back in the biblical times, people.
I don't know. It says age 250 plus. Maybe he's still alive somewhere.
They do a thing on that
He's hiding in a cave.
It's really interesting. Because of how they
Take the years.
measure time differently.
I was gonna say years really short.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
Well,
But
yeah, but how do they come up with set times?
Yeah, he passed away in 1989.
A year after I was born.
He lived on. Listen to this. I just get into this stuff so much. I love like just looking up random because it's so interesting. But all these guys that are named in Paramahansa Yogananda's book, if you look them up, they all have these pretty amazing stories. That's one of the reasons I love his book so much. Is it like gets you all curious about other people. Anyway, he was a yogi. He lived. He was an avatar. He lived beside the Yamuna River. He lived on a 12-foot high wooden platform. He usually remained stark naked, never ate food, only drank water from the river, claimed he could be in two places simultaneously, which is what Patanjali describes in the Yoga Sutras. He was observed to have stayed underwater for half an hour. He was a Pramaswarupa, an incarnation of love. He gave darshan, spiritual blessings, to devotees who came to pay homage. Many came to visit this great illustrious saint. People came from all over and from all walks of life. And so he just hung out up there on this platform, naked, letting people bring him water, but he supposedly never ate food either.
Sort of like
Gurus supposed to be like nuns, kind of in a way? Not really, but
Girls?
no nuns.
Oh, gurus.
Sorry.
They're supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposed to.
But they could be married too. I mean, it's not like Patabi Joyce is married, but he still groped and sexually assaulted women. So it's not like you had to be completely celibate, although there is brahmacharya that some people say is celibacy. But they definitely aren't supposed to be sleeping with all their students.
Right.
This guy claimed he was 700 years old. He'd lived for over 700 years. He was called the Ageless Yogi, gained mastery over Khechri, this state of yoga whereby he was able to control his hunger and the time of his death. And
What?
well, a lot of these guys I mean, this is definitely things that we can corroborate, where they go, I'm going to die in an hour, see ya. And I'm going to go in and meditate and I'm gone, so let me give you
That's like-
the final blessings.
That's like Yogananda.
Yogananda.
He did that too. Where he was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think Nityananda actually did too.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys did. So
Wasn't it like right after a speech he gave?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, Paramount, but he said to them, basically, there's not much more time. Gets up, gives a speech.
Literally.
He's like, bye bye. Yeah. So Swami Rama.
Avatar is somebody that isn't, you can't, like, if you touch them, you go straight through them. Is that right? Is that the difference?
I don't know if that's how they're using the term avatar, but they called him an avatar because supposedly he lived at least 250 years. So
Is that all Avatar means? You just live a long time?
it depends on who's using that term. Let's look it up.
Yeah, and I wonder if an avatar comes through a physical body, like a mother, or it's like a manifest body.
Okay, so one of the terms is a hybrid human alien.
Oh.
If it's
Yeah.
James Cameron's avatar.
Oh, it's the best movie ever.
I love that movie.
They're making a, where is
The
it? They're
second one.
making
And like literally that is
Park.
the
Oh my gosh, where is, I saw it, yeah.
Universal Studio?
Probably like China or Japan.
I don't remember where it is, but they're making like a
okay.
whole Avatar park, sorry.
Nice.
Look
That's
it up.
exciting.
Why, like Disneyland?
No, it's.
I bet you it's like China or Japan that decided to take this.
I think it is out of country, but I don't think it's China or Japan.
That's so cool.
I
That's so
know.
cool. I definitely didn't know that.
I know.
So Avatar, the incarnation of a Hindu deity, an incarnation in human form of a Hindu deity. So when India is using it, that's how they're using it. Is that he is an incarnation of a god. An avatar is a concept in Hinduism. It means descent, refers to the appearance or incarnation of a deity on earth, generally refers to a light to make one's appearance, and sometimes used to refer to any revered guru or human being.
In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is an avatar.
Yep, Krishna is an
He just appears.
avatar.
He's,
Exactly.
standing on his chariot.
Yep.
Exactly. And he just shows up.
And then
It is Disneyland.
It is.
But like in
It is
Is it California Disneyland? or-
Orlando.
Oh.
All the similarities between Standing Rock and the Avatar.
Oh, how serious is that? Okay. So, yeah, so Swami Rama, you can just write next to him another perv. No, I'm just kidding.
Add it to the list.
Yeah, so that's probably why I didn't feel the need to study with him. And then I actually don't even know anything about Swami Kuvalyananda either. While we're looking things.
Have you seen that documentary of Yogananda Awake? It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So you can watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to like order it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Netflix is stepping up.
That's my jam.
Plus they made a cartoon version of The Little Prince.
Perfect.
What?
I know,
Yeah.
it's so cute.
It's so
Especially if
cute.
you've read the book, then you
Oh
can
my gosh,
actually
yeah.
follow it.
Yeah.
But it's like a Disney version, but Netflix, it's cute.
It is cute.
Okay, so Kubalyananda is associated with Gandhi.
What?
So he started. He was alive in 1883. Died in 1966 when I was born. So I'm probably the incarnation of Swami Kubalyananda.
I was gonna say that.
I'm gonna start saying it. But he is associated with IAYT now. His work and his type of yoga is now associated with IAYT, which is the International Association of Yoga Therapists. And he was the pioneer of scientific research in the field of yoga, which is why he's, I guess, included on this list. He started the first research journal of yoga. And you can get a scholarship, a Kubalyananda scholarship through the IAYT of $108, which will get you pretty much nowhere in the overworld, but hey, it's a good start.
So that's the program that the yoga therapy program that we're.
Yep, that we're now, yes, that we're now being yeah. And we're a thread in the blanket, but we're not just the thread, we're the entire blanket, but we're only the, but if we weren't there, the blanket would be different because our thread wouldn't be there, but we're the whole blanket.
It's like a trip. It's like you can't think about like the big.
We're the ocean, we're a drop in the ocean.
Like how everything kind of evolved from something, I guess.
But it's
really,
even different from evolution. It's, yeah, you're the seed, you're the this, you're the that, but that still implies some kind of evolutionary thing. And what non-dualism says is, this table right now is the table, and it's not a table at all, and it's happening at the same time. Both exist at the same time. Not like before it wasn't a table and now it is, but like it's a table and it never is. It will never be a table, and it is really a table.
So it's like why
Like we can't. It's not a lie to say this is a table, and it's also not a lie to say it's not a table.
So what's an example in like another sense outside of the table?
So in the Advaita Vedanta, the way that they explain it is, God is you and you are God, right? And we understand that.
It's like we're our own divine type situation.
Yeah.
It's Brahman and Atman, right?
It's Brahman and Atman, but again, even saying Brahman and Atman is duals. So when you look at it, it's like I am Atman, and Atman is me, right? And I am I am separate from God, and I am not separate from God at the same time. At the same time. Not sometimes I'm with God and I'm one with God, and sometimes I'm just myself, but like I am both God and completely separate from God at the same time. Brahman is alone true. So these cardinal doctrines are represented in the Ananas. This is the most famous verse in the Advaita Vedanta. Brahma Satyam Yagan Mitya. Jiva Brahman. Here we go. Sorry guys. This is the thing that he does. Brahmava na apara. Brahman is alone true, and this world of plurality is an error. The individual self is not different from Brahman. And yet, it is true that we experience ourselves as completely different from Brahman. So both are true. One isn't less true than the other. We are separate, and we are not separate at the same time. That's non-dualism. Another way that I read in one of the books that I wish I still had, I gave it away, and it's maybe hold on one second. Because it is the clearest one that I've ever read. It says, there is a truth that we all recognize as truth, like gravity has a certain control over us. And then there's a supreme truth, which doesn't negate any of the lesser truths. It just backs it all up. So while, yeah, gravity is what it is, and that is true. That is a law that's true. It's also, there's a higher law that says, it's not true.
Okay.
But it doesn't negate the trueness of the statement that it is true.
It's like a guideline of things, right? But yeah, we were able to push through the guidelines sometimes and explore the infinite possibilities.
No idea.
Yeah.
Is it like
It's just this mind-blowing, everything is real, nothing is real. That you have to hold two differing, completely contradictory ideas in your mind and have that be okay. Because otherwise you're still acting on a dualistic plane, which of course we always are, and that's true too, because we are individuals right now. And it's true too, at the same time, that we're all connected. And both can be true. The whole point is both can be true. One doesn't have to negate the other.
And it allows for true freedom to be experienced because you're not stuck in any one way, any one thing.
Yeah.
is it like moksha and samskara?
It's those are terms that are definitely from that because those cause suffering because we think we're separate, right? And so that's part of getting to the whole non-duality part. It's like realizing that we are separate and we don't have to be, but we really are separate. And so that's where it comes into play. Like, are you going to believe that no, we aren't separate at all? Because Advaita Vedanta says no, we are, and we're not at the same time.
Where's that? Maybe you can tell me where I picked this up and see if I can articulate this.
Yeah.
That when I was learning about Brahmacharya, I kind of got the impression that the senses are what keep us in this illusion. Mm-hmm. And so we're supposed to be able to give up the senses in order to draw back from our I-ness, from this thing that we're like stuck in. So
that is a dualistic form of yoga. That's dualistic because it's saying
where did I
somehow.
pick that up? Where did that come from?
It's huge in the yoga world. There are two branches of yoga. One is non-dualistic and one is dualistic. One says the body and all the senses are things we need to escape from. And that's non-dualistic. That's dualistic. And then the other form, which is more tantric, says there's no way we can because everything's the same. There's no differentiation. So how could the body be anywhere? How could a sense be something we're trying to get away from? So what you were studying was a dualistic style of yoga, which says either or, right?
Well, it left me being like...
Right.
And then I read the Gita and I was like...
Exactly. And the Gita... I know.
What
So that's the... Exactly. And the whole point is that both of and the Vedanta would say, both of those are accurate.
Well, and I already bought the Vedanta. I'm afraid to read it now.
Exactly. Both of those are accurate and they don't contradict each other, even though to us they clearly contradict each other. Non-dualism and dualism clearly contradict each other, but how can non-dualism contradict dualism? It can't. Because it accepts everything. It accepts that it accepts the either or exists in a both and world. Ooh, no. No. So of course we have to understand that in this world of sorting that we live in this world we have to acknowledge the truth of the either or. Either you're this or you're that. Either you're a girl or a boy, right? And now even that is being challenged, right? Even that we've taken for granted, even gravity is being challenged, right? Mm-hmm. The point is, that those are true and they're not true all at the same time. That's the best way I can put it. So of course you're going to get schools that are dualistic, saying you want to get out of your body, your mind is the only place to be, that all of this is Maya, all of this is illusion, and your senses are what keep you dumbfounded. And then non-dualism would say all that's true and not true at the same. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. It's like all that's true that they're saying, but there's a higher truth that makes it. It doesn't negate it. It can't negate it, or it would be dualistic again. But it both embraces it and says it's not. I don't. It's not entirely true, because it is entirely true still. I don't know how to put it. All I'm saying is we have to know that, because there are schools of yoga and styles of yoga that are very dualistic. They're very like, you have to give all this shit up, right? Because this isn't real. And the only way to freedom is by giving all this stuff up. And when you read the sutras, you'll read the sutras, and some people who are interpreting the sutras are very dualistic in the way they're interpreting the sutras. And then other people who interpret and and that's why we don't read only one version of the sutras. Because then you get the other side of it, like let's say a more tantric version of interpretation, and you get an entirely different viewpoint. So it's very open to, and again, anything that's open to interpretation, we could say is, I'm oversimplifying again, is non-dualistic, because it leaves room for this both and perspective. Right? So as we're moving through the world of yoga, from a historical perspective especially, you have to look at, you don't have to. You can keep sorting, you can keep doing the either or thing. But what I would like to posit for you guys is this idea of both and, that Bikram doesn't have to negate Ashtanga, for instance, and that Anusara doesn't have to negate Anaforest, if we're looking at just the styles of yoga, that both of those can exist, both of those are true, both of those are real forms of yoga. And then we can go on and on and move further, out from, from physical practice and say, well, what else is yoga then? Right? And we don't have to make these delineations. We don't have to brand a certain type of yoga. We don't have to say, like Bikram does, it's my way or the highway. We don't have to say, like John Friend does, my way or the highway.
Well, like any religion.
Like any religion. Religions are so dual. They're so dualistic.
Well,
either or, my way or the highway.
Bits and pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. And yet if you do, there's so much truth in all of the religions. And maybe that's even a good way. There are truths that are found in every single religion, and there's the non-dual part, right? And then the dual part is that they say, well, we're going to take this truth, claim it as our own, and do these little special rituals around it, and claim it to be the only thing, and it becomes dualistic at that point instead of non-dual.
See, I've always viewed Leonis and Nionis as like those that are inherent in every religion. Those are the things you can find in any religion. You'll find that. That's its cult, which is a religion.
Well, and that's why it's really nice. And even cults are based on truth. Even cults are true. It's just what they do with that little nugget of truth. But that's why if I could go back to school now, I would do comparative religion, because they both compare and contrast. They bring all of the similarities, like Houston Smith being a really good example if you want to read forever his stuff. Or even, what's his name, Joseph Campbell. He's another really amazing, totally gifted comparative religion, comparative spirituality, comparative...
There's a lot of tantra, doesn't he?
Totally, so much. But he brings all of it back to a place of, here are all the similarities, and here's why we can look at it from a symbolic perspective instead of saying, oh yeah, when we read about Adam and Eve and Eve coming out of Adam's rib, yeah, we're going to believe that. So anytime you can study yogas and look at them from a perspective of what brings them all together? What is the truth here? Instead of saying, okay, well, this yoga person says this, and I have to believe one way or the other, we can move toward a place where we're, willing to entertain two seemingly opposite ideas and let them exist in our mind together and not have one have to negate the other. And I think the more you can take that perspective on anything, on life as well. It's like Krishna and Arjuna sitting in there in the battlefield, and Arjuna's like, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to be peaceful. And he's like, well, This is your
Not now.
peace. This is your form of peace. This is peace. This is truth. You know? Yeah. And yes.